13th Australian to be Prime Minister was Arthur Fadden. As leader of the Country Party, he was in coalition with the United Australia Party in forming the Menzies government. He had been acting Prime Minister when Robert Menzies went overseas. He became Prime Minister himself when Menzies resigned, but only held the position for 39 days. Born in far north Queensland, he worked as a sugarcane cutter, then became an accountant. He entered Queensland local and state politics before winning the seat of Darling Downs in the federal parliament in 1936. Although described as likeable, he could not hold his coalition together. When two independent members joined the Labor Party in voting against his budget, he had to resign as Prime Minister. Even after he lost the top job, he stayed on as leader of the Country Party and as a Member of Parliament for another 17 years. John Curtin, the 14th Australian to be Prime Minister, is considered by many to be our greatest. As Prime Minister for most of World War II, when it seemed like Australia was about to be invaded, he was a steady, determined, hard-working figure that the population could look to for hope. Born near Ballarat in 1885, he started work at the age of 13, first for a printer and then as a copyboy at the Age newspaper in Melbourne. A lifelong avid reader and talented writer, he was at the heart of Labor politics, even being arrested over the anti-conscription campaign in 1916. Curtin moved to West Australia to edit the newspaper The Australian Worker, later winning the federal seat of Fremantle in 1928. He lost the seat in 1931, but took it back again in 1934. He was surprised to be elected as the leader of the Labor Party and therefore the leader of the opposition. When World War II was declared, Curtin tended to lend support to the then Prime Minister, Robert Menzies, although he had long differed with the government on its reliance on the naval protection of Great Britain and believed in a more locally based defence. John Curtin became Prime Minister in October 1941 when Arthur Fadden could not pass his budget. Only 8 weeks later, Japan entered the war with an attack on the US base at Pearl Harbor in the Pacific Ocean. The war was now in Australia's backyard. Curtin announced that Australia now looks to America, a subtle change in policy that continues through today. The Imperial Japanese Army and Navy's rapid success culminated in the defeat of the British naval base at Singapore. Japan launched its first bombing raid on Darwin 4 days later. An invasion of Australia's mainland looked inevitable. Curtin demanded the return of Australian troops fighting with the British in the Middle East to defend Australia. American General Douglas MacArthur, after losing the US base in the Philippines to the Japanese, was ordered, with the agreement of Curtin, to Australia to organise the defence of the Pacific. With the naval battles at the Coral Sea and Midway and Australia's victory on the Kokoda Trail in New Guinea, the Japanese advance was stopped. Slowly, the tide of the war turned in favour of Australia and her allies. Curtin's struggle for a more independent foreign and wartime policy and his planning for post-war Australia with better welfare provisions, full employment and local industries took a toll on his health. John Curtin died whilst Prime Minister and only 6 weeks before the end of the war in the Pacific, on the 5th of July 1945.